Buddy Brennan, thank you so much for joining us today and welcome to the Disability Channel.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Chris. It's always good to see you.
Now, in the intro, I said that you were a coach, but I never really alluded to what type of coach. Most people will think of sports or maybe, a tutor. So, Working Reel Productions, Buddy Brennan, the coach. Walk me through that.
So, yeah, you're right. I absolutely am a very different type. A lot of people get into lifestyle coaching or decluttering coaching or helping you through almost like a mentoring process for your business or your personal life. That's not what we do. We help people specifically with either their acting or their presentations and their communication skills. We really don't touch on the personal side of your life. We work on making you a better presenter, better actor, better auditioner.
So walk me through that a little bit. You say better presenter. Most people, they think of maybe a CEO coming out on stage and talking to their employees and their team. Is that kind of what you mean by you would talk to the corporate world about how to be an engaging presenter?
That's exactly the kind of things we would do with business people. Business people have to give a lot of presentations, and sometimes they're really good at communication, but they're not necessarily great at presenting. So we will help them sometimes with the language of what they're saying so that they know what the audience is actually hearing. And sometimes we're working on their actual skills, their verbal skills, their body language, all the things that go into communicating properly. We even will touch base if they're on camera with making sure that their colors are not the very same as the background. What they can wear, what they can't wear, those kind of things. And that's really for business people who are very, very smart in their field. They might be a lawyer or a financial planner or something like that. And they're very smart in the field, but they haven't learned how to communicate their ideas effectively. And we help with that.
So when we talk about, I guess that's more of a leadership thing, is that you have a CEO, someone in management giving a presentation and they're in a position of leadership. Now, do you help write and craft what it is that they should be saying or the message they're delivering? Or is it really just about presence on camera and engaging with the crowd?
Yeah, and that really comes out. That's a very great question. Thank you. That really comes down to what the issue is that we're addressing with each individual. With some that we deal with, their language, the way they're explaining things can often be convoluted or a little confusing to the listener. So we help to create their language to be a little bit more succinct, but also to be more effective. So let me give you an example. I had one young man who was a fantastic young guy, really smart, multiple degrees, but he never used any emotional words. So it was very difficult for people to relate to him, to like him, to understand him, because at the end of the day, people make decisions emotionally more than they do intellectually. So does that answer your question? Is that the kind of thing you're asking?
Yeah, actually, you brought up a new question for me. You're saying emotional words and having people connect. Typically you think of a CEO coming down saying, do this, that's your paycheck, thanks so much. What do you mean? What's an example of an emotional word or an emotional sentence that helps people connect?
Well, some of the concepts that people are dealing with. Let me give you an example of an accountant. An accountant will sometimes think that the numbers are good enough, and if these numbers make sense, then what they're saying makes sense. But really, if they want people to buy into what they're doing, if they want people to come with them on that journey, if they want people to say, yes, I'm going to take part in this, then they have to appeal to how people feel about it. So if the accountant even says something as simple as, I'm very excited about this, that's an emotional word that tells people there's an emotional connection to it. Or the opposite could be true. No, this is something I'm very afraid of. Well, great. Now they know he's pulling away from that. But just to say this is right, this is wrong, won't engage your audience enough. Right? Does that Does that make sense for you, Chris?
Yeah, no, absolutely, it does. I'm happy you shared that with us. It's a lot of the time, especially within the disability community, we have a hard time relaying our communication, especially when it comes to emotions. And it's a lot of I feel statements as opposed to, I feel angry. It's I feel upset. So when you have that example of you get up there saying, hey guys, I'm really afraid of this next quarter, or, I'm really excited about what this team can do, it helps to really put that into the team. That's really cool. And how long has Working Real Productions been doing coaching like that for the CEOs and the business side of things?
Well, that's kind of a difficult question to answer. We have been very, very active throughout the pandemic. But prior to the pandemic, people would call to say, "My friend told me that you coach actors. Can you help me with a speech, or can you help me with a eulogy, or can you help me with, things like that?" And we've never had to advertise. All of our business comes from word of mouth. People say, I know this guy, buddy, can help you, call him. And that's how it's built. So I started as a actor and a director many, 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 many years ago, a few decades ago. And as a director, people would reach out to say, well, listen, if he can communicate and get that from the actor, maybe he can help my friend who's a business person. So we did it informally for a long time. But at the beginning of the pandemic, there was an overwhelming amount of people who needed help addressing the camera, using the camera to communicate. And so we started really getting busy with that then.
That's awesome. Kind of snowballed into something unexpected. Now, I want to dive into the acting and the directing side of you for sure. But when we talk about the CEOs, and as you said, these guys are very educated, and these guys, gals, everyone is very educated. They're very smart people, but they have a hard time relaying that to their team. In your experience, in your opinion, what's been the most light bulb moment that you've worked with somebody and they've said, oh, now I get it? Was it addressing like a team of 500 people? Was it addressing maybe their family as opposed to a company?
That's an excellent question. And it's a little difficult to answer because I think there are different moments with different people. So when I go back to the young executive that I was dealing with, and again, really a nice person when you met him, he was almost afraid not to be intellectual in his process. So for him, the light bulb moment was I got him to tell me a story, and I said, okay, now that you've told me that story, how did you feel about it? He goes, well, I liked it. It was fun. And he was telling me about a vacation. I said, at no point did you tell me anything that you felt through the story. And he sat and he looked at me for a minute or two, and I said, it's never going to be about the facts. It's always going to be about the subtext. How did you feel? How did you interpret that moment? And for him, that was a great moment. But a lot of people who get up to speak lose track of the fact that it is about the audience. So they end up using a lot of I statements like, well, I thought of this, and I'm really happy to do this, and I would like to do this. And we joke, I say, well, they're suffering from eye disease. They use the word I too much. But really, what I'm trying to say is that communication has always got to be about the other actor. It's always got to be about the audience or the person you're talking with, as opposed to themselves. And some of them, once you point that out to them, they go, oh, of course. The reason people aren't responding is because it's all about me, not about them. And that's a tough habit to break, but it's a great thing to learn.
That's awesome. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, more about Working Real Productions and acting coaching from Buddy Brennan.